Well, let's talk about auditing for a moment. We know what happens when auditing can go wrong. We've had a number of high-profile cases over the years. Specifically, let's talk internal auditing. It really is the first defense, or it's supposed to be, against fraud, corruption and maladministration. Auditors also help by keeping companies optimized as operators. Now, the reason I'm talking about this, it's the Internal Audit Hybrid Conference for 2023. It's going to be taking place in Sandton later this month. It's going to showcase various innovations, new technologies, and of course best practices to drive internal auditing forward. Let's get a sense of why this is so important. I'm joined by Arlene Volmink, the CEO of the Institute of Internal Auditors of South Africa, joining me this morning. Arlene, good morning. Appreciate the time. And as I was saying, when auditing goes wrong, it can have devastating effects. Obviously, I think most people would know what happened with the Steinhoff saga, and I'm not want to go into that. I want to find out from you, why does the ordinary non-auditor need to understand why this is so important? Explain it to me.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Good morning, listeners. I think that internal audit is often misunderstood. We always, criticized of being the watchdogs within an organization. But truly, we are there to add value and to preserve value within organizations. The board is accountable to ensure that the risks are mitigated and that there's a good corporate governance structure and good control environment, and internal auditors help the board and management to achieve that objective as well as the organization's objectives. So I think it's misunderstood as a profession, and that's why the conference is so important, so that we bring everyone together in dialogue and we see how we can collaborate so that organizations are sustainable and that public interest is protected.
So challenges and opportunities, then, I imagine what this hybrid conference is going to be all about as well. What's the biggest challenge that you're dealing with as an organization at the moment?
As an organization, the Institute of Internal Auditors is really there to advocate for the internal audit profession. I think there are multiple challenges. Most top of mind could be maybe the emerging technology, and so the conference will really bring dialogue to topics such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotics, process automation, agile ways of working, and make sure that internal audit professionals embrace this new technology landscape and are equipped to perform in an increasingly digital landscape.
And if you had to look at that digital landscape, Arlene, as well, where would South Africa rank, in your opinion, versus the rest of the world? Where's our internal auditing on a ranking scale? I'm not asking for like an actual stat from a global body, just in your opinion. Where are we on that scale? Are we pretty good? We've got a lot to learn, or is it much to be desired?
The Institute of Internal Auditors is actually part of a global institute, and I would rate us very highly in terms of the professionals within the industry. We have over 8,000 professionals across the country, which makes us a very large affiliate in the context of the broader global organization. If you also look at things such as the King Code, South Africa in itself is also ranks quite highly in terms of the corporate governance scale globally.
How much damage, if I can just circle back to what many people know as the Steinhoff saga? I think when we hear auditing, we immediately, as non-auditors, hear about the name Steinhoff. I don't want to go into the details of that, but how much damage did that cause to your industry, in your opinion?
I think that we, as I say, we are often misunderstood, and we also we have an obligation internally. We're still employees within an organization, so I think it all centers around education and awareness, and I guess as the institute we can do more of that, starting with events such as the conference, just to promote, understanding of how we can add value and what we can do within our organizations to bring that understanding of what it is that we do as internal audit professionals.
I wanted to ask about the profession as a whole as well. I'm actually glad I'm talking to the CEO. Obviously, you have a huge passion for what you do. You have to be the CEO. Obviously, you have to know your job incredibly well. Who is the kind of person who goes into internal auditing? I mean, it sounds like a fascinating career to be in. I do need to be open and transparent. My wife is a CA, so she's always talking about auditing. But I'm trying to figure out, someone watching now going, I would never have thought of becoming an internal auditor. Maybe a youngster watching. What are they walking into?
Internal audit, and I've been a professional for over 22 years. There's always debate about, do you start as an IT person? Do you start as a finance person? Where do you start? But I think you can start from anywhere and pivot these days. There's career fluidity. And it's really an exciting profession, because unlike other professions which could be seen to be siloed within one department within the organization, internal audit works across the organization, works from strategy to operations. And so it's really an exciting profession to be in, because you look across silos, across business departments, and you get exposure across the organization. So I can't tell you what the starting point should be, but it's a profession that has no barriers to entry. It's open to all individuals, and it's a very exciting profession. And I say that as someone who's been in the game for quite a long time.
Yeah, and the fact you can still enjoy it even after all that time, Arlene, it's great to hear as well. Just very, very briefly, on the Internal Audit Hybrid Conference, I mentioned it's in Sandton later this year. What's the one takeaway you want from those attending? Give me the one takeaway as I say goodbye to you. What do you want the one thing to be that people remember about internal auditing?
Oh, so many things. But I think that, you need to stay abreast of what's changing. And this is a changing business landscape that we are operating in. And so, the conference is hybrid. It's the theme is interconnected thinking and interconnected internal auditing in a hybrid world. And the takeaway really is that come to the conference, we will equip you with everything you need to know in this hybrid working world.